Did you know that there are 17 million illegal immigrants in America, more or less? And do you realize that if you are an illegal immigrant or have a friend or loved one that is, even if they're a dreamer or they've been here for a long time paying taxes, do you understand that if they get arrested, even if the little rinky-dink charges and all that, there could be severe immigration deportation consequences? Even if you or your loved one that gets arrested is innocent. So I brought on Adam Rossen. Check out this podcast. Great criminal defense attorney who knows all about the consequences of getting arrested when you're illegal and what to do.
Welcome to Cut to the Chase, where we talk about compelling legal, regulatory, and public interest information and news. Your host is Gregg Goldfarb, an attorney, entrepreneur, investor, and activist.
All right, folks, it's time for our favorite podcast, Cut to the Chase. End of the year, beginning of the year. I'm bringing in Adam Rossen to talk about a very important topic, which is the new administration coming in. We have 17 million illegal immigrants, and the policy proposal is to deport them all. And so Adam is a powerhouse criminal litigator, over 10 years of litigation, worked as a prosecutor, tried over 50 cases. Has your criminal attorney tried 50 cases? I doubt it. All right. Maybe you want to ask that. But anyway, how are you doing, Adam? I've spoke too much already.
Hey, Greg, I'm doing awesome. I love the name of the podcast. My oldest son, his name is Chase.
Yeah.
So love that. I like to say I named him after my favorite bank, but no, we didn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, so glad to be here. Glad to talk, about all things new administration and the intersection of immigration and criminal law.
And Adam also has a fabulous podcast called Success in South Florida. Adam actually has, a lot of successes out there. And one of the things that separates Adam from other criminal defense attorneys is he takes a long-term approach. It's not just ending your case, pay me, see you later, goodbye. But, all these matters have consequences in the future. And Adam comes out and he is going to walk you through, explain it. He's not just going to get a deal and that's the end of it. So that's, one of the things that relates to the topic we're going to talk about today, which is what to do if you're facing an immigration hold after an arrest for criminal charges. You got
right
people
and Greg, I do want to just say something else on that point. We've grown our firm to almost 25 employees, 6 attorneys, and yeah, we're good at marketing, we're good at sales, we're good at intake, all those things. But the real key to us growing to be one of the largest criminal defense firms in South Florida is that we give a shit about people. We work really hard, we get great results, but we actually care about people. And I always say that, we're the opposite of the mercenaries who get paid to do a job and leave and most students of history know that mercenary armies, at the end of the day, they end up losing wars. And it's usually the small band of people that are fighting for something that they really care about that usually will win, or at least stave off the much bigger mercenary armies. So for us, we are community and relationship builders first and foremost. And how we do that is through criminal defense. And so when you look at it that way, I think that ultimately has been the key to our success. And I just wish more law firms thought about it that way, because I chose to be a lawyer to help people. And I think most of us did. So
Yeah.
I wanted to talk a little bit about that before we started.
Yeah. We could do a whole topic of how people get in, all right, I want to go into law. I go to law school. I have all these grandiose and benevolent ideas. And then you get into the practice and things go haywire. And then all of a sudden you're just chasing money, ambulances, what have you. And you've lost sight of who you were and what you're doing. So it's great to hear that you've actually put this into place. And
We have.
with the immigrant, some people are like, hey, what's a criminal defense attorney talking about immigration? Well, guess what, folks? If you're illegal and you get picked up on some criminal charges, they might even be bogus. You better make sure your attorney knows immigration. And that's why I brought Adam on here to go over some of these issues, because I'm afraid how are they going to round up 17 million people to deport?
Right.
I think people are thinking, well, they're just going to go after the hardened criminals. But I'm trying to remember the Homan, I guess the person that's going to be the czar was on CNN and he said, no, 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 we're going after, if you're here, his quote is, if you're in the country illegally, you got a problem. So let's talk about what is ICE, what is an immigration hold, and what are the issues that people might be faced with that they have to.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So ICE is Immigrations and Customs Enforcement. Okay. They're, the section that basically looks to deport people. Now, when somebody gets arrested for a crime, and if there's any doubt whether this person is legal, illegal, or just a non-citizen, right? Because one thing that I think a lot of people don't realize is that green card holders get deported from our country every single day. So what the government will do, or what the local jail will do, is they'll put an ICE detainer on, and basically it's going to give immigration and ICE, about 48 to 72 hours to come and just check the person out and see, what do we want to do? Okay. Do we want to, to take this person and deport this person and put them into deportation proceedings or not? And the tricky part with these ICE detainers is that it affects the bond. And so, this is something that I want to go a little slow with and really kind of peel back for everybody, because what I always tell people is 1 + 1 = 10 when you're a non-citizen who's been arrested for a crime. And look, understand there's many different type of crimes, right? We could be talking about somebody who is without status, or AKA illegal, and it's a shoplifting of $100 from public supermarket. Well, that client's very well likely to get a diversion program in the criminal context, but they still could use that as the basis, or as the kind of the crux to start the deportation proceeding and be like, ha, we found you, you're illegal, we found you, you're going to be off. So you really need a criminal defense attorney or a criminal defense law firm that knows immigration. Now, we do always advise our clients that they need their own immigration attorney, and we co-counsel and work with them. Because we are not, even though we know a lot about immigration, we are not immigration attorneys. And I think people really need to make sure that they have their own immigration expert working hand in hand with their criminal lawyer. But for example, for this particular client, let's just say, let's say it's a $100 bond. Well, if there's not an immigration hold, you pay the $100 bond, you get out, we handle the case. And in a situation of that level of misdemeanor with us, our client's never coming back to court. And if it's a first offense, we're going to get the case dismissed, probably through an easy diversion program, real easy peasy. But when that person has the immigration hold, well, then it's tricky, because if we post the bond, then they get taken. And if they get taken, because not everybody gets taken. Okay. But of course, with the new administration, we believe that everybody's, or at least it's going to go up tremendously. But if they get taken, and let's say we're in South Florida and they get taken down to Chrome or to BTC, Broward Transition Center, well, then they're put immediately into deportation proceedings. And then it becomes a matter of, can they get a bond in immigration court or not? Right? Or are they, if they're already illegal, are they going to be fast track deported? So it throws in a lot of different layers, and it hurts the ability for us sometimes to defend and win the criminal case. And in the context of people who maybe they're without status, but they have a way to adjust status, or maybe they are maybe they are a green card holder. A lot of what's going to happen in the immigration court is dependent on the criminal case. And so if the immigration court is not going to give a bond and they can't get out, and that's hurting us on the criminal case, and the criminal case is what's needed to help them get out and win the immigration case, it can kind of become a very tricky situation. So that's why I always say 1 + 1 = 10 on these type of situations.
All right, so I just want to kind of go through a couple of examples, because I think some people out there might be in disbelief about what's going on, and they might be under false pretenses that, hey, I'm not going to get deported if I get picked up on some little rinky-dink charge that gets dropped. So these holds, first of all, I want to make sure I got this right. The hold can happen after the arrest, even if it's completely bogus, even if the arrest was just complete nonsense and you're gonna get out and you know you're gonna get out and all that.
Right, absolutely. The hold is basically, it's a hold for immigration to come and basically inspect, and decide what they want to do. But the problem is they're not going to really come until the bond's posted. Also, one thing to consider, let's say we're talking more than $100 bond, $10,000 bond. Normally in South Florida in state court, if you have ties to South Florida, most bail bondsmen these days are not even going to ask you for collateral on a $5,000 or $10,000 bond. Um, on these cases, bail bondsmen are not even going to post the bond. You got to pay cash because with the immigration hold, they're not, they're going to lose their money or they're worried they're going to lose their money. So if there's a $5,000 or $10,000 bond on maybe a felony, um, that in order to even trigger the immigration hold, or I'm sorry, in order to even trigger going to court, to being moved to immigration court, you have to post that bond and pay the full amount in cash, or else you're stuck in the county jail until the case is resolved.
All right, so you had mentioned like diversionary programs, and I know that, probation is also an option many times, suspended sentences. Are those things now going to be basically off the table if somebody's illegal? I mean, if they get held and they get sent to Chrome, how are they going to show up to their probation officer?
Right, exactly. So the criminal courts, and look, down here, especially in South Florida, most of the prosecutors and the judges don't particularly care what happens with immigration, good or bad. Meaning they're not there trying to deport people, but they're also not trying to give any benefits to people, just because they're going to get deported. So really, in that type of situation, if they're on probation and they don't show, then probation, and even though they have a good reason, meaning they're in immigration or deportation proceedings, the probation officer will just put a warrant out. And a lot of these is there's just probably files and files at the clerk's office of just people who have warrants out for their arrest for no showing in court or violating probation who have been deported.
Yeah,
And if they ever come back, it'll get dealt with.
yeah. So is this also going, so let's say I'm a dreamer and, DUI, get thrown in jail overnight. Yeah, I mean, I'm a dreamer. They can't put a hold on me, could they?
Well, remember, the hold is just for them to inspect and figure out if there's something there or not. So they can put a hold on anybody. Now, whether they take you or not is a different story. And I know with the Dream Act, I believe I'd have to double check, but I believe it's 2 or 3 misdemeanor convictions that can remove your dream status. But again, those are convictions. So no, that would be something where if they did take you, it would be a massive mistake. Any good immigration lawyer would be able to get you a bond and get out and probably win that deportation case. But, you don't want to be in that situation to begin with. So it's again, anytime you're a non-citizen, and you get arrested, it's just exponentially more complex.
I just want kind of a little bit of a side burner here, but let's just say you end up in Chrome and you've got family members that want to visit you. Is there any different protocol to paying someone a visit in Chrome versus, the local jail?
So that's a good question. That I actually don't know because we're not, full on immigration practitioners. So that's actually a good question. I mean, I'm assuming there's visitation just like it would be in either state prison or local jail. I know, Chrome is the main detention center and courthouse for immigration, and deportation matters in South Florida. I'm sure there is. I just offhand, I don't know it.
Yeah. How do you expect this all to play out? I mean, is there going to be, just a bunch of holds, people getting sent over to Chrome? They're going to be, I mean, how many people can they hold? Are we going to, is the private prison industry going to kick in here and start opening up beds? What do you expect is going to happen?
Yeah. So we can look back to, 2016 to 2020. It was, a very busy time for immigration lawyers and criminal practitioners, criminal lawyers as well. We saw people being being arrested and dragged out of criminal court by ICE in the criminal courthouse in between, in all courthouses in South Florida. We saw people showing up to probation meetings, getting arrested and taken down to Chrome by ICE. So it's not just the initial hold or detainer, right? People that they miss, they're going to be looking for on the back end. Okay, the middle end and the back end of these criminal cases. So that's another thing for people to watch out. But it's also going to be absolutely crucial that people hire the best and the right immigration lawyer for them, because in immigration law, there's some subsets. Usually business immigration lawyers don't handle deportation defense. So you want somebody who's an expert in deportation defense, because when you're at Chrome or let's say Broward Transition Center, where they put more people with some of the less serious crimes, those cases are trying to get fast tracked. But if you can get somebody a bond and get them out of custody, then you go down to it's the address 333 South Miami, which is just a regular immigration courthouse. Those cases are now getting court dates for 2028. Okay. That's how slow the out of custody deportation process is. And I know the government, right? They're saying what they're saying, but they just don't have the capacity to handle the out of custody people. And I don't care what they say, it's not going to change. So, yes, they're going to continue to fast track people who are not eligible for immigration bonds or people who don't get them at the discretion of the judges. But if that's why you really need the best lawyer to get out. And then you can have 2, 3, 4 years to really fight that, while you're out of custody. And that I think is going to be one of the major keys for this, and making sure you have the right criminal lawyer if you have those charges as well, because it's funny. The immigration lawyers always say to us, they're like, well, Adam, and to my lawyers, they're like, well, just get it dismissed. And we're like, okay, it's an armed robbery. We do really good work and we might be able to, but it's not as easy as you're making it out to seem. But the good thing is when you work in conjunction, there's a lot of tips and tricks, meaning, well, he's charged with felony A. And if we have the client plead a felony B and craft a sentence and change the charging document to read different language, then we're setting them up for a good defense in immigration court. So there's a lot that can be done. You have to really know what you're doing and go slow. And it's, peeling back many layers of the onion.
Yeah, and I would warn people out there, your family member gets arrested, they're illegal, you're going online and you're just whoever, you're punching in criminal defense attorney, then you see a name and you're like, let's call this person. You better make sure, people are qualified. And just because they have a website doesn't mean that they're qualified. All right, last question. And I'm not sure whether this is a legitimate concern. Maybe I'm just being neurotic, but do you believe that there will be some governmental authorities that actually are making false arrests for the purpose of getting somebody into the deportation system? Like, hey, we know that all we got, just conjure up some bogus charges. Let's get the person arrested. We'll get them out of the country.
Well, I certainly don't hope so. I hope not, right? I really don't want that. And I think the optimist in me is gonna say I don't think that's gonna happen. But remember, if somebody is without status and is deportable, they don't need a criminal reason, right? So it depends. Are we talking about somebody who's here on a tourist visa, a student visa? Are we talking about somebody who, has a green card, right? Generally, those people, the only reason for them to be deported is because of a crime, and usually a criminal conviction. So if we're talking people that don't have status, whether they, and there's a difference. If you don't have status, if you came and overstayed, you have a lot more defenses than if you came illegally, such as, hop the border. But they don't need a pretext if you're illegal. Right. So, I think they are going to do raids. They are going to do a lot more roundup operations like they did for the previous administration, that's coming back. And so, yes, that is going to be a thing. But as far as, just maybe, I certainly hope not, but they really don't need it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the bottom line is they don't.
All right. So that'll do it for this episode of Cut to the Chase. Adam, thanks for coming on. I know it's the end of the year. You got lots of things to do, but I thought this was a critical topic that I wanted to share, and people, if you're getting, if you get arrested, Adam Rossen, excellent criminal attorney. He's got 6 other awesome attorneys in his office. He's got offices everywhere in South Florida, everywhere.
Yes.
So,
We're everywhere.
don't worry
What-
about that.
What I tell people is the next level is I want people to be able to shine like the bat signal and just reappear, right? How great would that be? So
would-
we're going that's one of the goals.
All right. All right, folks. So be safe. Don't get arrested. But if you do, here's your man, Adam. Thanks for coming on. Have a good, strong end of the year, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks for having me, Greg.
Takeaways from my interview with Adam Rossen, criminal defense attorney, South Florida. First of all, do you know what an immigration hold is? An immigration hold, you get arrested and you're in jail. Could be 48 hours waiting for ICE to either pick you up or not pick you up. Number 2, takeaway that your ICE hold is going to affect your criminal defense strategy. Perhaps you're thinking you're just going to get out and take a suspended sentence or some kind of diversionary program. Well, guess what? If there's an ICE hold, and you got to go to your probation officer, how are you going to get there? Third major takeaway from this episode is that you need to make sure if you get arrested or your loved one gets arrested, and they are illegal, even if they, maybe they have a green card or they are a dreamer, they need to get a criminal defense attorney with immigration knowledge. They're not going to be an expert in immigration matters, but they need to know the general gist of it and to get you coordinated with an effective immigration attorney and to coordinate strategies.
That's all for this episode of Cut to the Chase. But before you go, will you open up your podcast app and give us a 5-star review? You can also leave a comment about what you liked most or other topics you'd like us to cover. And please be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming shows. Thanks, everybody. Be safe out there.